The best salespeople in the world are the ones who do it without you even noticing. Everyone's a salesperson, especially if you're an entrepreneur. In the I'm Not Salesy podcast, join me, Cassie McKenzie, and my fabulous guests as we dive into the top strategies, mindset, and energetics around sales and money so that you can hear more, yes, I'm in, instead of crickets or getting ghosted. So if you're ready to fully book out your programs with aligned AF clients and have people chasing you down in your inbox, asking how to work with you, then subscribe to this podcast today and become not salesy too. If you've ever sat there and looked at your DMs and been like, oh my God, this is literally full of crickets. Like there's nothing going on but the rent here. And you're like, oh my gosh, what does it take to actually have an inbox full of people wanting to work with me, having leads coming to me every day, having people saying, send me the link, and really have these results that you see other people having, and you just like think that there's something wrong with you because you're not getting it. If this is you, then listen up. I have the most amazing way to work together. And I feel like this is something that you don't have to experience, right? If you've posted up content every single day for months now and you're still not getting any inbound leads reaching out to you, and you actually want to fill your programs with ideal clients and have people saying, send me the link, and really build your business, but you feel like it should be working right now, then don't throw in the towel. Come to Mama Cass. I want to see you filling your programs with dream clients. I want you to feel like you're so completely confident when you're promoting your programs, and that you hear way more of a yes instead of getting ghosted, and you know exactly what to say during your sales conversations. And when you show up, whether it's in the DMs and you're talking to like the crazy amount of people that really want to work with you, or you're on a sales call, I want you to be able to get on the phone and get on sales calls with people who are already pre-sold, saying, how can we get started without you even having to pitch them? And even when you do have to pitch them and you get to that point in the sales call, it's so easy breezy that it's just like, it's easy as breathing, right? I want you to know that this is possible, because this month I'm starting with a group of experts, a group of coaches and consultants who really want to grow their business. And I'm going to teach you how to turn your coaching business into a sales machine, but one that's actually fun to run, right? Like the Maserati of sales machines, a Porsche, right? So we're going to go way past just giving you trainings and processes to create a steady flow of inbound quality leads. I'm actually going to be practicing scenarios with you so that you know how to close your sales, you know how to develop customer relationships, and you get real-time feedback on your actual DMs so that you start closing sales in the DMs and you start hearing more yes on your sales calls. And I'm even going to give you the tools to clear out the old fears and beliefs and the frustrating emotions that have prevented you from making sales so that you start stacking money in your bank account. There's nothing else like this online. I expect this first group to fill up really quickly, and I want you to send me a DM on Instagram or on LinkedIn with the word sales. Tell me that you heard this on the podcast, and I will get you the details, because I want to see you wildly successful. I want this ripple effect to really take off. It makes me happier to see your results than to see my own, because it means that this ripple effect is happening and that the work we do together is going far beyond just the call that we are on, that it's going on to impact your clients and impact the lives surrounded by them as well. This is the vibe. So this is what we're doing in the Sales Queen Takeover. You're going to learn how to attract leads that are aligned with you, that feel great working with. You're going to learn how to do this in a way where you're able to easily close them on the sales calls, easily close in the DMs, so that you can get to work helping the people who need you most, and that you can have an insane amount of impact on the world on a daily basis. So I look forward to seeing you there. I am so excited for this to get started, and I can't wait to hear what you create. Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of the I'm Not Salesy podcast. I have to sing it. I don't know. I do a different intro every single time, but I'm your host, Cassie McKenzie, and I'm the non-salesy sales coach who helps you love sales so much because it becomes fun. It doesn't become something you run and scream from and hide under the pillows like it's a gremlin. So today, though, I have a super fun guest. And we are going to be diving into a very, very juicy topic. And I don't like saying the word juicy unless we're talking about a velour sweatshirt from like the 2000s, which I had one in every color back then. And I'm hoping that fashion swings back along that way so that I can rip them out of my Tupperware bin one day. But hey, here we are. Okay, so today my guest is Angela Merzib, and we are going to blow your mind with how to really warm up leads and have people who come into your audience being totally cold and how to warm them up using her specialty. Welcome, Angela, to the podcast.
Hi, Cassie. Good to be here. Nice to meet you
Hello.
again. Yes, along with crushed velvet, I think terry cloth onesies should make a comeback.
I do too. I
Had
think
those.
that would be so amazing. And my husband can probably hear me from the other room or even from another state right now talking about this, and he's probably cringing, but I don't care. I like what I like, and I make no apologies for it.
And that's your brand, right? That's what we're talking about
Right.
today.
Well, and speaking of branding, so Angela is the founder of Be Bold, and that's a branding agency that gets service-based businesses into fighting shape by crafting strategy, messaging, and design that tells their story and showcases their superpowers so they can knock out their competition. And Angela does this in a really cool way. She has these fast-paced one-on-one custom VIP branding days where if you're a decisive business owner who wants to go from strategy to launch without a lot of time in between and without it taking like months and months to get something done that literally could be done in a day, then she is your girl. So, welcome, Angela, again. I'm so excited to dive into this today.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for that intro. Awesome stuff.
Mhm.
So, yeah, where do you want to start? Maybe we should start with defining what brand is because there's so many bad definitions out there. Well,
Mhm.
some are better than others, right? So maybe
Yeah.
we should do what we're
Yeah,
talking
because
about.
I think like if you ask the average person who's a new entrepreneur online, or even somebody who came from a sales background or just is or came from, some other even marketing brand or marketing background, you when you start online, the fluffy, shiny objects, like that Canva's like crack, right? For creative people. And
Visual
so it is. And, if any of us had a sticker book growing up, then we are suckers for Canva and time suckers, especially. So I would love for you to give me like a couple misconceptions on what people think branding is versus what it actually is.
Yeah, so when we say branding or brand, most people think about a logo, and that's
Right.
the visual identity. Yes, it's part of your brand, but it's just the logo. So, it's like, and you'll resonate with this because I know your husband is South African, but I say saying the word logo is like saying the word Africa. Everyone, if I just say imagine Africa to the average person, some people might think of the elephants and on a safari, some might think of a bustling city like Johannesburg. So it has different connotations and meanings in people's minds, but really what we're talking about when we're talking about a brand is what is your reputation, right?
Hmm.
What are you all about? It's how you're positioned in the mind of your prospect, right? It's your substance and your style, like what we're talking about with the crushed velvet and the velour and stuff like that. Every person has a brand or a reputation. Every business also has a brand. So
Hmm.
the act of branding is managing that reputation, that substance and style. And how do we want people to think about us? And if we don't actively do it for ourselves, like every business, just by virtue of existing, has a brand.
Right.
So whether it's managed or created without your involvement, it's there. So we might as well work on influencing it and how we want to be perceived by our audience. So that's kind of
Right.
the definition of brand as I see it.
Yeah. So, because your brand is going to influence other people, right? On whether or not they can trust you off the
Yeah.
bat or not. And I feel like the more solid you are in what that vibe, like to me, I think of like the brand is more of a vibe of how you
Yeah.
want to portray yourself, how you want somebody, you literally have a couple of seconds to gather somebody's attention, and everything you post online goes, either in one bucket or the other, right? It's either giving you that energetic currency on the positive or kind of taking away from what you've built up there. So without,
Yeah.
scaring you
Totally.
too much, right? Like, are you on brand or not?
Yeah. And there's definitely, manifestations of that brand that come out in tangible assets, right? Your messaging, how do you speak? Like you read my bio, right? I have a kickboxing background. So,
Yeah.
and I have this kind of hard hitting, brand, like coaching style, like let's do this, right? When you work with me, you get that. I'm like your coach, like your kickboxing coach, right? Your sensei, brand sensei is what I call myself, right? So that's my
Love
brand.
it.
It's like
Wax
how
on, wax
what
off.
yeah, wax on, wax off, right? So how do you speak in your marketing messaging and your sales copy and on your website? And then what are the visuals? Like what colors do you use? It all comes out. But you have to know, you have to do that inner work first in order to get that outer work right. And I see you talked about Canva, right? And I see that a lot is, oh, I'll just go to Canva and there's overwhelmingly too many options
Lots
for
of
you to look
templates.
at and choose from,
Mhm.
right? Templates. How do you choose? Well, if you haven't figured out what you're all about and what style you are, who you want to attract, what will they be attracted to, then how do you know what to even build?
Right. Oh, it's so true. Because I found on the the times where I was like, well, I don't know what to create for myself, so let me go see what other people are doing. That's when I was the
Mhm.
most confused about what I wanted to offer. And then the times where my branding was like, I don't know, 50 shades of all sorts of creativity, right? Like that was also when I was kind of the most confused and didn't know really what I wanted to do or how I wanted to birth it out into the world. And the times where my brand was non-existent were times where I was non-existent too. It's like a mirror of yourself, really. That's why you can't copy somebody else's brand because you can't automatically jump into their human skin suit every morning and, see how they put their pants on in the every day, like one leg at a time, right?
Right. Yeah. Copying. I see that a lot. Oh, this company's successful. I should do exactly what they're doing, but you're undifferentiated then. And the client doesn't know, like they see everything as a commodity. And so the differentiating factor becomes price. So
Yeah.
you end up competing on price, and that's a competition nobody wants to win, right? So there has to be something else to set you apart, and understand that by taking a stand and being your authentic brand and putting your personality to it, you're going to yes attract certain types, and you're going to repel certain types, and be okay with that. So nobody can be for everybody. You
Right.
can't be the brand that is for everyone, right?
Especially starting
Nobody
out.
do that.
you
Yeah,
know?
especially starting out. I mean, starting out, maybe you need to test the waters a little bit, but you'll learn. You'll start to learn, like, okay, I like working with this kind of business, or I like doing these types of things. So you'll learn as you evolve, who you actually are and what kind of persona you want to portray out there that
Well,
gets
I
you.
think it's so important though for people, especially to take your brand seriously from the start. Even if you're coming in and you're like the best at what you do in corporate, and you want to start a bit there, have like this side hustle really take off and make the sales that you want to make. If you do, then you need to start being more of an expert online as far as instead of a generalist, right? Like get super specific about who you want to help and have it be the best case scenario from the start, or at least what you think the best case scenario is, and talk to those types of
Yeah.
people and create your brand around that. Because I'll tell you, just to give an analogy in pharmaceutical sales, if you go and think about like, so if in your job, like if in your coaching or consultant business, you want to work with really high quality and caliber clients and have high level discussions that actually make you think and, challenge you, but in a way that, makes your genius zone really shine, then think about when you go into your primary care doctor's office and how many pharmaceutical reps you see walk through the door with their sample boxes and everything, just while you're sitting in the waiting room, right? You might see 10 to 20 come in with their managers, right? And they all look the same. Well, when you go and you see a specialist, like say you have asthma, right? Or migraines, and you go to your neurologist, you might not even see one rep come in. And the reason is because they're specialists. They're not coming through the front door, dropping samples off and leaving. They are having face-to-face meetings that are calling the doctor out and, getting them to think a different way, because it's a specialty, right? There's higher level discussions. It's a more consultative sell. It's not a commodity. And so when you bring that out into your online business, that's how you want to be. Like, you want to be the specialist. You want that brand to say, hey, I'm the shit, and you're going to know it because of how I present myself,
Exactly. It's the difference between that push and the pull of marketing. So I see marketing as, we all have to market our business, but it's like a push, it's like a ask. And then the brand is why they say yes. So I use this analogy a lot, is marketing is like the marriage proposal and branding is the reason they say yes,
Yeah.
right? It's understanding of what are they all about, and why should I care? Why are they different? And why should I choose them? And that's your brand. That's the long-term focus, where marketing is more short-term activity. The ask, right? Hey,
Right.
this is what we offer. Want to work
Yeah.
with us? Why should I say yes? I'm going to look deeper and understand what you're all about. And that's your brand, your reputation.
I have my own analogy too around dating and sales.
Yeah.
So, like, the way I see it is like sales, like doing this relationship consultative, like you care about your brand, you're at, where it's like, yeah, you're magnetizing people in with your brand and then selling to them based on value, right? Like, that's like your, oh my God, I met my soulmate type feeling versus, and versus like cold DMs or cold pitches and stuff. It's like the dick pics of the relation. Of like,
I
you're like,
saw that
oh
analogy. I
God,
was like, oh my goodness,
no.
that's
Yeah. And you're like,
striking.
how
Yeah,
many
it is.
times did you think that actually works? Like, does that ever actually work? It's just a turn off. No way. I'm like, ugh. So I could go on, but yeah, I love
Yeah.
the dating analogies because it's so true. You're not just selling something. If your goal is just to make money in your online business, then it's going to be a very hard upstream experience, right? If you want to go for a longer term relationship, then that's going to be a win-win for everybody and feel a whole lot better. So let's talk about, though, like, a lot of people I feel don't even like, okay, let's talk about warm leads and cold leads and how your branding can really help warm people up faster. So, how do you explain cold leads versus warm leads for someone who just kind of sees every connection on LinkedIn as just another face?
Yeah. Well, cold leads, of course, is nobody's heard of you. They don't know what you do. You're showing up for the first time. They've got to, once you show up, they've got to do their research about what are you all about? What's in it for me? Clients are always looking, or prospects are always looking at you like, what's in it for me, right?
Right.
We just have to know that inherently and speak to that. So yeah, a warm lead would be you're showing up consistently, you have a differentiated brand message, positioning, you're doing something that your competitors are missing the mark on, or there's a white space opportunity, right? That you're filling that need, and you're differentiated from your competitors, and you're consistent about presenting yourself. And so
Mm-hmm.
you become more trustworthy,
Mm-hmm.
right? You become someone who's like, oh yeah, I know what I'm going to get when they show up,
Mm-hmm.
and I know what they're all about. Either I need that, or I'm curious to learn more, or I'm not, right? They know. they're in or out, right? And so you're attracting your tribe, you're attracting those fans of your brand, because it's not just about what you sell. It's also about, how do I see myself? So when we make a purchase, whether it's anything, a product or a service, we're asking ourselves, what does this make me? What will I become
The
when I
status,
interact with the brand, right?
right? Like
Status.
raising your
Change my,
status.
right? Does it change my status for the better? And that doesn't just mean Rolex watches and
Right.
Porsches. It's like if I hire this marketer or this branding agency or this sales coach, are they going to actually be able to help me fulfill the results that I'm after? And then
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, hey, I'm a smart person because I hired this person, right? How does it make me feel?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the difference.
Yeah, it's like an energetic thing, Sometimes there's tangible benefit, like you can point to the tangibles, right? But otherwise, yeah, it does help you feel better about yourself or help other people feel better about hiring you. And so,
Yeah.
what would you say if you were to start with someone new who kind of doesn't, just kind of looks all over the, like when you, so they look all over the place when you go to look at their, LinkedIn profile or even Instagram profile, because I know like not everybody that listens to this podcast is on LinkedIn, although if I have anything to do with it, you will be on LinkedIn. Actually, it's the place to be for sure. But
There. Yeah.
yeah, I'm not screwing around with TikTok. I can't bring my 44-year-old.
Dancer.
Yeah, no. I mean, no, I don't want to be beat up for like all day long psychologically just to make $1. No way. Hell no. Like that sounds terrible. So
Yeah.
come to the good side. Come be a Jedi over on LinkedIn.
Yep. Join
Anyway,
us.
I
Eat
digress.
cookies.
But like, okay, if you're looking at somebody who's sitting there going like, "Oh my God, I'm all over the place. I have not taken my branding seriously. Like this is just too much to think about." What, and meanwhile, they want to work with clients. They want to attract clients and or consulting jobs and things like that. And my advice though is the first place somebody who has heard about you or come across you or seen a comment from you, the first place that they're going to look is your profile, whether it's on Instagram, which really gives, kind of like a magazine cover, worth profile. But if you're on LinkedIn, then they're going to come look at your LinkedIn profile, right? And so you definitely have to have that branding optimized. But where would you say people should start with implementing some sort of branding strategy that's going to take people from cold to more, like of a warmed up status quickly? Because I think there's a lot of ways to do this on LinkedIn pretty fast. And I'm a great example of it, Like I talked to some people in the DMs around like how long, like some people were like, "Oh, I've just been doing this for 9 months, and so I'm still warming people up to me." And I'm like, 9 fucking months? You can build a baby in that long. Like seriously, it doesn't take that long to get people to trust you on LinkedIn. Trust me, I'm proof of that. But like, where would you want people to start as a branding expert?
Yeah, and branding is the long game. So because you want to be consistent with it, but I
Yeah.
would start with the inner work, right? So
I didn't expect you to
logos
go
and
there. That's
colors.
good.
Yeah. Well, it's understanding what's your personality? What personality do you want to put out there? Um, is there some kind of theme you can create from that personality, like I've got, right? What's your story? What's the background that you can draw from? What makes you different? Like start writing some of these things down. What are your differentiating factors? And I know we have it all up here, but it's great to like sit down with either Google Doc or a piece of paper and just start writing this stuff down. Why are you doing this and not something else, right? What's that why? Because not only is that going to connect with your client, it's going to help you get your feet on the floor in the morning, especially when it's
Yeah.
rough seas. So what's that why? What's your background and experience that you uniquely bring to the table that maybe somebody else doesn't have, right? We're trying to get differentiators here. What frustrations have you seen in your industry that you can help overcome? How do you help your clients overcome the frustrations that they deal with when working with other, whatever it is you do, right? What, if you've been in business a while, what do clients love about you?
Mm-hmm.
What can they not love? And what would they miss if you were gone? Write it down, like write down some ideas. If you don't know, ask them for 5 minutes of their time and ask them, why do you work with me? What feeling do you leave them with? Write
Mm-hmm.
that down. Um, do you have a unique process? And then you then start connecting dots, right? So from your personality and your brand and your theme, could you create package names that are interesting and memorable, right? Like my brand storm package, that's a branded named package. Like don't ever name your package silver, bronze, or bronze, silver, gold. Like don't do it,
Maybe
right?
if
Like
you're an Olympian, right? If you're training
maybe.
athletes,
So if
that
it
could
makes
work.
sense to you. So like, yeah, just start connecting some of those dots and then looking at your competitors and going, what are they doing? Where are some opportunities? Like where are they missing stuff that I could
Hmm.
come in and see that, ta-da, here I am to save the day. So start really writing stuff down. And of course, I go through this in a much more detailed way in our strategy sessions. But if you're doing this on your own, just start
Hmm.
asking yourself some of these questions and writing it
Yeah.
down.
Hmm.
And then you can create your messaging from that, right? Then you'll see, oh, I help, who do I help? What is their problem that I'm solving? What
Hmm.
is the outcome and how am I different, right? Everyone's looking at it. So write your copy in a way that answers the question for the viewer, what's in it for me? Because everybody's
Hmm.
always looking at your stuff that way, right? Don't talk
Yeah.
about, I have this award and nobody cares.
Right.
Like
Nobody gives a
save it
shit.
for somewhere on your about page later, yeah, down the page, right? It's cool, but nobody cares. They're in pain, right? It's kind of the analogy that I use. It's the difference between the front of the aspirin bottle and the back.
Hmm.
We are we're like we have this curse of knowledge, right? We know too much about what we do, and so we speak in industry jargon. We speak like the back of that bottle, and this is probably a perfect analogy
I
for
know.
you.
I'm like, I'm the dork that looks at the back.
Yeah, I'm a dork that does that too, but we shouldn't speak like that when we're talking
Right.
to our prospects. They don't understand. They just want to know, hey, is this going to cure my headache? Is this super strength? Like what do I need right now to cure that pain? So speak that way
Yeah.
in your messaging on LinkedIn.
So I like to break it down into it's super like what's a need to know and what's a nice to know. Like what does
Mhm.
somebody need to know from you to work with you or nice to know? And somebody recently I interviewed said, you don't need to position yourself online as better than anybody else. You just have to
No,
position yourself to be different. Like how is your coaching different? How,
yeah,
what is somebody going to get out of it? Like for me personally, when I started thinking about that, I was like, so many people teach sales strategy, but they don't spend the time sitting there with you for implementation or give you a guiding process to actually be in a room with other people. Well, even if it's a Zoom room, verbalizing and spelling out the details of your offer in front of a safe space so that when you finally do it on a sales call, you're not tripping all over yourself, you know? And because I know I've personally taken a lot of sales courses because I don't know why I'm always gravitated towards them.
of course. You want to know what your competitors are doing so you
Well,
can stand
I
too.
think early on, though, I discounted how much I already knew about sales, even though I've
Right.
done it all my life, And so I would take sales courses on how to sell online and how to do this and that and the other. And it was up to me to show up to the courses, but it was just absorbing information that, quite honestly, afterwards, if you don't go and implement it right away consistently over time, you're just going to lose it. It's just like anything else. If you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And if you lose it, then you're not making sales. If you lose the sales skills, then you're not going to be selling your impactful work, right? Like your clients are going to be sitting there trying to figure out what they like and don't like and not being able to get through to it because of all the chatter in their mind. Like I feel, especially for people that you work with that are really, high achievers, very driven, they've got a, busy plate, they just want to stand out online and they know that with somebody else facilitating that, then it's going to make it easier and actually get the shit done. Right. And so,
Yeah, and it's hard to see ourselves as other people see us, because you were just
yeah,
talking about imposter syndrome there. And I
yeah,
find the business people and the most expert people have this imposter
yeah,
syndrome, which seems counterintuitive, but
yeah,
yeah, we have it because we care about being excellent, right? And delivering that
yeah,
excellent
yeah,
product or service.
right.
The snake oil salesman is not going to have imposter syndrome because he knows he's a
No.
snake oil salesman, right?
Yeah.
So the best people always have imposter syndrome, and we don't always see ourselves the way our clients see us or the way
No.
that is true. So I help give an outside perspective. I help you come outside of the bottle. I talk about another analogy is we're like business owners, we're inside the bottle trying to read the label on the outside of the bottle, and it's
Yeah,
impossible,
it
right?
is.
Let's out and turn around and see how our business is perceived by our audience, and then we can speak effectively to them.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes the feedback you get might not be what you want to hear, but it's what you need to hear.
Right, but that's brand influence. Like that's why you take control of that and you go, okay, that's not where I want to be. I want to be here, and let's make a plan. How are we going to
Yeah,
get there?
exactly, exactly. So tell me, I want you to tell everybody about your VIP experiences because this is so genius to do. And I love the idea of nailing everything down in one day with an expert's help. So share how you're different from, anyone else who's a branding expert online.
Yeah, so I saw frustration in the industry too, where either brands were taking too long to be built, right? Or there was VIP days offered that were not fully custom. So
Hmm.
I sort of merge the two worlds together. So I have a really efficient process where first of all, we come in and we create clarity for you. What is getting clear on what makes you different, who you're speaking to, what's your offer that's, kick ass and different. And so we create a plan to differentiate your brand, and then we start executing from that plan, right? So then we build out all your assets, and the VIP day is actually comes in at the end. So something else that's difficult when you work with agencies is, you get into what I call revision cycle hell.
Yeah.
So you're constantly like,
You
oh, I
mean
don't have time to work on this
perfectionism?
right now. Like, hey, what do you think? What's that?
I said, do you mean like
Like
perfectionism?
perfectionism, yeah, something like that. Or yeah, so, most entrepreneurs after they've gone through my process, they have a really clear idea about what it is their brand is moving forward. So making those decisions about the deliverables is
Mhm.
really easy
Yeah.
and quick, because it's like all the jumbled up thoughts up here have been nicely ironed out, and we know where we want to go and what we want to look like and everything like that. So what we don't want to happen is, emailing back and forth. Hey, what do you think of this logo? And waiting, a week to hear back. And so we book out that day. We go over everything that we've created with you, your messaging,
Mhm.
your logo, whatever it is. Not everybody gets the same, deliverables, but whatever
Mhm.
it is we've created, your messaging, your logo, your website, and we just knock it out and get it all approved and launched out there. So I'm launching on this day and I can go out and sell, right?
Mhm.
I can go out and just start selling my services. And that's how it works in a high level view.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, because you really cut out the ability for the analysis paralysis, right?
Yes. Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. You're making decisions in real time together. You've got a branding expert there to help you and kind of maybe talk you down from
All
wherever
right.
it is you're trying to jump off from. And it's like, okay, we did this work, right? We're confident
Mhm.
because we've done the groundwork, we've done the inner work. So now the outside stuff is easy to do,
Mhm.
right?
It totally is. And I feel like when you have your brand completely, set, right? And that's something you don't have to worry, that just leads you. It helps your content creation. You have your pillars of what you want to get known for. And you never really have to, even on LinkedIn too, if you are like my view on content, I feel like you need to post it every day to, build that build that like know, like, and trust factor, but even more deeply, like, build that authority. Um, but a lot of times the comments you leave for people are like little mini like posts in
Marketing messages,
themselves.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And so when you have your brand set and you know what your brand's about, and then that leads you into being able to easily, from a marketing and sales standpoint, create your get known factors, then that
Yes.
paired together makes content creation, authority building. It really ramps you up so freaking fast that you can, in 30 days, be getting people inbound. You're getting like connection requests coming in if you're consistent with it and keep it simple. And plus, when you've got your brand set in stone and that's something that's not energetically draining you and draining your focus, then it makes it so much easier to get all the other actual, like sales needle moving tasks going, because you're already done, and you just have to kind of stay in your lane. I know, like, it's one of the things I see people struggle with the most when they first start out around content creation, especially, and this has something to do with your brand. So I am going somewhere, but like,
Mhm.
are you creating your content for somebody else out there, like your family to see, or like some, coaching friend that you are silently competing with, or some old coach you hired that you think really fucked up and you're like, well, I guess what I think about you now, you know what I mean? Or like somebody you're jealous of online, or your, husband's sister who said that you could never make it, or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, are you creating it for that group of people who literally doesn't give a shit? Or are you creating it for the people that you want, that you consider your ideal client, who are actually
Yeah.
looking to your profile and looking to your content to get a feel for what your brand is? Like, everything has to be on brand, and it starts with the work that people like you help, put in like concrete form, right?
Yeah, and you have that playbook of like you
Yeah.
can ask yourself, well, what would my brand do in this situation,
Yeah.
right? What would it do? Like how would it respond? And if you're hiring employees at some point, right, you can
Yeah.
use that as a guide. Like you create a culture around your
Mhm.
brand and they're also attracted or not to your brand, right? So then you're also attracting the right talent and the right level of talent and the right personality of person. So it plays a factor in many things.
It's like, if Jesus was your brand, then what would Jesus do?
You do. Yeah. What would your brand do? You're always looking at it through that lens because your brand has a reputation, just like people have a
Hmm.
reputation. Right? And if you act consistently, if you act inconsistent, people won't trust you. Like imagine meeting someone at a party and at the party they were really reserved and shy. And then, at another party, they got the lampshade on their head and they're dancing around. You'd be like, well, who is the real person here?
Will
Right?
the real Slim Shady please stand up,
Yeah.
right? I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah. And like, that's, if part of your brand is speaking speaking your mind and being unfiltered, and then you end up online saying something controversial, then that's why it doesn't destroy your brand. But I mean, I don't know. You can ask Chrissy Teigen. She did a pretty good job of like destroying her brand on her own.
Oh, yeah,
But like,
I'm not familiar.
yeah, but like, or at least I don't know. I don't follow celebrity gossip that much anymore. But like, just the past, like in this past week, I seriously don't follow celebrity gossip that much anymore. But this past week, like, I don't know if you watch Vanderpump Rules on Bravo. There's like this show on Bravo about this group of servers at a restaurant owned by Lisa Vanderpump, who was on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And so this started out probably like 9 years ago, maybe 10 years ago at this point. I don't know. But so now it's evolved, right? And so now they're on, like, they're all like married. Some of them are divorced. Like, they're not the same like servers that were like starving themselves because they couldn't afford to get gas to get to, you know. But anyway, some of them have opened other restaurants up, and like a couple of them were caught in a cheating scandal this week. And so people are
Oh,
taking it out on, like Lisa Vanderpump is a restaurateur, right? And so when she started these two restaurants with these two characters, I'm just like unquotes, right? Characters on the show, they opened up a restaurant called Tom Tom, and then the Toms opened up another restaurant on their own just now. And so because one of the Toms was caught in a cheating scandal, now like the viewership were such loyal, fans, but now they're like turning on him, which means they're also turning on Lisa's brand too. So it's so crazy to see like what the power of like the
Yeah.
perception of, how you're putting yourself out online, and how, you really do have to stay in alignment and really stand for what you believe in. Like he could have just come out and been like, I'm a cheater, like whatever. But like when you're selling people things like one way and then showing up online another way, and there's no consistency there, then that's really going to be detrimental.
Yeah. Yeah. Consistent brands make more money too. I think there's a study that they did and they make like 25% more. So free
Mhm.
money. Yes, please. Right. Just for being consistent. Let's do it.
Well, okay, where can people find you, Angela, if they want to create that brand consistency and, really, if you've been procrastinating on creating that cohesive brand and you're ready to really step up your game in 2023 and stand out above the other competition, then, obviously you could have this work done by, a month from now, right? With Angela, or even shorter than that. So where can they find you so that they can come follow you and hear about it?
Yeah. Well, two places. So my website, beboldbranding.ca. You can
Yay.
book a free call with me if you want to chat about all this. And also, as you know, Cassie, I'm on LinkedIn a lot.
Yay.
So it's just my first name, last name. So Angela Merzib, Merzib. So that's the two places where I hang out the most.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'd love to connect with anybody who wants to chat with me.
Yay. Awesome. Well, thank
Mhm.
you so much, Angela, for this. This has been so much information. And I think I should have told you guys, or told you to bring a notebook before our conversation here, because we dropped a lot of really, really great knowledge bombs on you from a branding standpoint on how to grow your business. So go ahead and re-listen to this episode if you need to, and go find Angela on social media. And I will be talking with you in the next episode, where I'm sure we will have another amazing discussion on how to sell without being salesy. So have a great week, guys, and I will be talking to you next week. Bye. Thank you,
Hi,
Angela.
thanks, Cassie.
If you loved this episode of I'm Not Salesy, then go ahead and hit subscribe so that you're notified of the next episode. And also leave a 5-star rating and a review. And if you send it to the link in the show notes, we will send you a present in return. We also love to feature reviews on the podcast as well. So we'd love to feature yours. So go ahead and send a screenshot to the inbox and come find me on social media. I love hearing what you're up to and how you're becoming not salesy too. I'll see you in the next episode.